Arctic Expedition. Part 1. The cold ground was blanketed with fallen leaves. No longer a muted rainbow dancing through the sky, but rust-colored and still. The beauty had turned away with the weather. The air now bit instead of caressed. The crunching of leaves sounded like bones breaking. Dark's grasp on the earth began to stretch further, arriving sooner and sooner each evening, until light seemed more memory than recent past. Before the snow would begin, the world seemed to sleepily settle into the cold embrace of impending winter. And yet, something in the north began to stir. Andrew checked his pack for the fourth time, fighting the urge to bring anything else that would weigh him down. He knew there would be plenty of food and water between the 6 of them on the sled, and despite the heavy backpack and months of preparation, he couldn't help but wonder if they had prepared enough. "Are you ready?" Jess's comment was loaded with teasing laughter. "As I'll ever be, I guess." There were 6 of them in all. Jess, Cameron, Libby, David, John, and himself. Between them, they had over a decade of experience trekking across desert and tundra, tackling mountains and rainforest alike. On every expedition, Andrew had been anxious, checking and rechecking their supplies up until they were dropped off at their starting location. This time felt different. Before he could focus on his feelings too much, Andrew slung his pack into the back of the van that would be taking them to Resolute Bay, where they would board a flight to Ward Hunt Island. The air was frigid and oppressive on the island, the cold burrowing into bone marrow, until Andrew was sure he would never feel warmth again. Words between the group were far and few between, as the wind snatched their voices away with a desperate hunger, and then buried itself in their lungs. The weather station camp on the island was devoid of many people currently, lending to the feeling of being alone in the wilderness. The night before, Cameron had built a raging fire, while Sven, the tour guide at the weather station, filled their bellies with chili. Libby and John had played Scrabble as the tinny radio struggled to choke out music between bouts of static. The others seemed elated to be here, at the precipice of their journey. Winds howled outside, rattling the windows. Despite the warmth, chills crept up Andrew's spine. He felt watched, although he couldn't see anything in the darkness beyond the window. "It's colder than it's been in years," Sven said, contemplating the snow flurrying outside. Are you sure you want to head out in this tomorrow? Sven barely finished his sentence before Jess answered, We've spent too long planning and training not to give it a shot. Andrew dumped his chili when no one was looking. His stomach was full of nauseous dread, although he couldn't pinpoint why. Morning broke with muffled sunlight, and the entire world around them seemed to have been wiped away overnight. Snow had fallen deep and soft on the ground, packing hard beneath hurried, excited steps. Waving to Sven, the group set out on their expedition. The pack ice beyond the weather station was sturdy despite the faint cracking beneath his skis. Andrew had ended up at the end of the line. He had been hesitant to leave the weather station camp. The feeling of dread that had announced itself the night before had eaten through his stomach and settled alongside the cold in his bones. Beyond the ice, evergreens stretched towards the slate-gray sky. Unmovable to the wind that had whipped snow into small flurries. Hidden in the blinding whiteness, hungry eyes watched the group move slowly into the storm.